to respect Ramchandra Bhagavan. We have to respect Nrsimhadev Bhagavan. And Mahaprabhu himself, he taught that. So when he was going to South India, so besides the Maha Mantra, actually sometimes he chanted some other mantras also. In Mayapur, in Navadvip also. Hariharaya Nama Krishnaya Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Vishwaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Sudhana Giridhari Govinda Nama. So he used to chant that, especially in Mayapur and Navadvip. But when he was going to South India, he chanted some other mantras also. One of them is Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Lakshana, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Padima. So, actually there was just a message recently by the ISKCON Communication Department in India that there was a complaint about the ISKCON devotees. They were going to see Ram Lala, who was just established not long ago. And so they're going inside the temple to take darshan of Ram, and then they're always chanting the Maha Mantra, which is nice. But then the devotees of Ram, they were disturbed. Why are you always chanting Maha Mantra? Why you cannot chant Ram Mantra? And the devotees sometimes a little stubborn. Now we chant Maha Mantra only. And so there was a complaint about these devotees. And they were saying that in front of Ram, you should chant Ram Nam. So a message came actually in all these temples in India that they should try to respect Ramchandra Bhagavan and the devotees of Ram. So if you go to any place actually, let's say you go to any country, you have to follow the rules of the country. Like for example, you're driving in England and in India, so when you're driving the car, you have to drive on the left side. But if you go to any other place, in Europe, you have to drive on the right side the car. So it's a little challenge if you are used to driving on the right side, but if you go to India or England, you have to follow. You cannot just go, of course in India, even sometimes they go on the right side too. And so even on the highway, India is very special, incredible India. Even sometimes on the highway, they will go in the west, like it is impossible on the highway that you go in the opposite side. And sometimes in India they will do to take a shortcut. Or if there's a jam, traffic jam on the other side, that you will go some on the other side, but there's no jam, traffic jam.
Especially this tractor wala, they don't understand.
Yeah. But even other people also. Well, actually, so anyhow, sometimes it happens, yeah. So, but usually you have to follow the rule of the country. So similarly, you go to anybody's house, you cannot do whatever you want. If, for example, you go inside the house of any cultured Indian, following Vedic culture, Vaishnava culture, you have to take off your shoes when you go inside the house. You have to follow. And then you will tell. Maybe so in the West, many places they will not do. Of course, sometimes also depends. And so we should follow the rule of the country, the rule of the house, and the rule of the temple. Very simple. So then we also told them we have to chant, we have to glorify Ram in our temple. So that has been explained. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, any devotee who is sensitive, he will understand and he will have to tell. So Mahaprabhu himself, the Supreme Lord, but he came to teach by example also. So in the Ram temple, he glorified Ram. In the Rishika temple, there are many in the Rishika temple in South India. So, and so he used to chant, as we also chant. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladayavadayane Hiranyakashipurashaha Shilakam Karnakalahe Ito Nasingha Parato Nasingha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasingha Bhaye Nasingha Hridaye Nasingha Narasimham Avim Sharanam Kapadye. So in each Nrsimha temple, he was glorifying, he was chanting this mantra. The other one, of course, Tavatara Kamala Vare Nakam from Jai Breakers, Gid Govind. The Sharata's daughter is there. All the mantras are there. Sri Nishingo Jai, Narasinghadev, Prahlad Desha Jaya Padma Mukta Padma Bringa. So Mahaprabhu, he was chanting these mantras in glorification of the presiding deity. And then, but of course then also, and he was chanting, and then he was dancing in ecstasy, but then after he was also chanting the Mahamantra. Because he came to get specifically the Mahamantra. But they respected the different deities and he was glorifying the specific deities. So to set the example for the devotees, and as Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita, whatever great man does, the common man will follow. And whatever standard he sets, the whole world will pursue. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was going to South India, so distributing the holy names, and then he was telling others also to read the scriptures, specifically Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Yadadekatayaka Krishna Pradesh. Whoever you meet, you tell Krishna Pradesh. What is Krishna Pradesh? That is Bhagavad Gita. And then Amara Gyaya Guru Hanatarai Desh. And then on my orders, so first you hear and you read and you practice, and then afterwards you teach others. Bharat Bhumita Haila Manusya Janmajara Janma Shattaka Karikara Paurupokar. So those who take birth here in Bharat Bhumi, they should make their life perfect by engaging in spiritual activities, as told by Mahaprabhu and Krishna, and then they should help others, paropakar. So that is a Vaishnava, that is a Brahmana, sarva bhutehi terataha, not only thinking about himself, but trying to help others by giving knowledge, by giving prasadam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so instructed whoever he met, that you chant the holy names and you study Bhagavad Gita, and then you teach others. There was one Brahmana who wanted to go with Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu told him, you stay in your village, and then you chant the holy names, and then you give the knowledge to others. And also Mahaprabhu was so very mercifully. So he was very merciful, and so many times embraced the devotees. And so to be embraced by Mahaprabhu, of course, and that is most wonderful. And we aspire also. And then they were immediately absorbed and feeling ecstatic symptoms. And then being empowered by Mahaprabhu, then they gave this knowledge to others also, and they instructed also others to chant the holy names, and the loving relationship was there, and then others also became Krishna conscious. And they in turn also then gave this Krishna consciousness to others also. And therefore Mahaprabhu's time, so many Vaishnavas were there. It is mentioned that almost whole Bharatvarsha became devotional, they became devotees, Vaishnavas. Because Mahaprabhu, he practically toured all the holy places and Bharatvarsha and made so many devotees, and they in turn also made devotees. And so it is mentioned that almost everyone got liberated at that time. But it is the nature of this world that the conditioned souls are there. And then so the work of trying to help others, that has to continue. And therefore the followers of Mahaprabhu, they also, under the order of Mahaprabhu, they are writing transcendental literatures for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. And they're trying to give Krishna consciousness, the holy names to others. And that is being followed by all the followers of Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada also wanted us to distribute books, give this knowledge, and give the holy names to others, and do Harinam Sankirtan, so that the others may also take up Krishna consciousness. So, the Madhya Lila, so first of all, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also is usually in the beginning of each part of Chaitanya Charitamrit, like beginning of Adilya is giving some introduction and explaining already what he's going to elaborate upon, and at the end of the Adi Lila is summarizing what he had taught, because so many pastimes are there and sometimes we forget. So if we can hear again, then we can remember also something what we have heard before. So similarly in Madhya Lila also, he was explaining what he will discuss, and then he's explaining in a little more detail, and at the end of Madhya Lila again he will summarize. And same in the Ante Lila. He's explaining what we will discuss, and at the end is summarizing. So that is usually the process also. Even, for example, when we give some discourse, usually even in this material world, that is usually followed also. If one is giving a talk, even a politician, you can see he will give some introduction on what he's going to talk about, and then he will explain in detail, and then at the end the summary and conclusion is there. So that one will be able to grasp the essence and take that to heart. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, then he was fully absorbed in chanting holy names and distributing this Krishna consciousness, and he was exhibiting transcendental ecstatic symptoms which were uncommon, as explained also before. As soon as he arrived in Jagannath Puri, and then he took darshan of Jagannath, and then so Jagannath is, of course, that is explained, and that is actually Krishna in Dwarka. But remembering his pastimes in Braj, that is the form of Jagannath. So when he saw beautiful Jagannath, Mahaprabhu became very ecstatic, and he also remembered Krishna in Braj. So much so that he fell on the ground unconscious due to ecstatic symptoms. So these are ecstatic symptoms. So the different degrees about those who are highly advanced, and these ecstatic symptoms, they are more prominent. And so Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, but in the position of a devotee, so he showed uncommon ecstatic symptoms. which is not even possible for a pure devotee to manifest. So that has been explained also, especially in this Madhya Lila, and of course in the Anta Lila also, the ecstatic symptoms of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the same time, so Mahaprabhu then also followed the rules and regulations just to teach by example how we should act in this world, and so that one may gradually advance in spiritual understanding. But then he also explained how to advance more and more and to become absorbed in thought about the Supreme Lord, about Krishna. And then ecstatic symptoms, they will come naturally. And also explanation was there about Madhavendra Puri, the spirit master of Ishvara Puri. His devotional service was explained just a few days ago. Actually yesterday was the appearance day of Madhavendra Puri. Yesterday. Yesterday was a very, of course, every day is special for the devotee, but some days are more special. The day before yesterday was Nrishinga Chaturdasi. Nrishinga De Bhagavana Ki. Jai. So Nrishinga Chaturdasi. So then we hear about Nrishingadev, about his appearance, and every year on this day we should hear and we should speak about that. So Mahaprabhu himself, so he was doing that, and the acharyas have followed that. So Vaishak Mas, it was Vaishak Mas, Shukla Paksha, Chaturdasi Titi, day before yesterday. The appearance of Nrishingadev. Actually, Ulambara's father, Yamanikashiru, he was doing austerity and he got the boon and blessings, many blessings from Lord Brahma. He did so much austerity and he wanted to become immortal. But that is only possible if one is worshipping Krishna or Vishnu or Narayan. And then one comes to the platform of the soul, and the soul is eternal, but physically we cannot stay in this material world. But so he was thinking I should, because he was on the bodily platform, thinking I'm this body. He didn't know about the existence of the soul. And so he was thinking that I will trick Lord Brahma. So then he was asking, so Brahma said, okay, you ask for boon. Okay, I don't want to die during the day. And Lord Brahma, tadastu, so it be. I don't want to do it nighttime, I don't want to do nighttime. And he said, tadastu. And he was thinking, well, he's asking all these boons. And I'm giving blessings because he did so much austerity. But then he knew also that Krishna will make some arrangement so that he will appear in such a way so that all these blessings actually will be nullified. But the blessings were there by Lord Brahma and that was intact, but still he was killed. So I should not die in any month. That's true. So, but we observe in Vaishak Mas. Because actually he didn't appear in Vaishak Mas, so to say, but there is a Purushottam Mas, which is every 3 years. And it is different times of the year, the Purushottam Mas. So this, when Nrishingadev appeared, was Purushottam Mas. And during the Vaishak Mas. And therefore, when the Purushottam Mas is there, during Vaishak Mas, then the Vaishak Mas is like double because of Purushottam Mas. If it is in Bhadra Mas, the Bhadra Mas is double. So that is there. So we can understand that he appeared in Vaishak Mas in the Shukla Paksha, Chaturdasi Titi. So, and usually the Purushottam Mass is always in the middle of the month. Like Vaishak Mass is there 2 weeks, from Purnima Tithi to Amavasya, and then comes Purushottam Mass. And then after 1 month, after Amavasya, the Vaishak Mass is continuing. So after Purnima, the Vaishak Mass, then the Purushottam Mass started, and in the Shukla Paksha of the Purushottam Mass on Chaturdasi Tithi he appeared. So in this way, so the boons were intact, but Nrsimhadev appeared not during the day and not during the night, but at sunset. And also, he didn't kill him in heaven or in hell or even on this earth. So not inside the house, not outside the house. He was not killed by any animal or beast or bird or whatever, or human being, but he appeared in half man, half lion. He was not killed by any weapon, but the nails of the Lord. So everything was intact. So the Lord is very wonderful, and we can never trick the Supreme Lord. So Nrsimha Chaturdasi ki, Tulad Maharaj ki. So Mahaprabhu, he had asked 100 times to Gadar Pandit, please you read about Nrsimhadev. So most probably every Nrsimha Chaturdasi, they were discussing that. And during the year also, maybe 1 or 2 times. Yes, you were asking?
Yeah. How that, because he appeared in Purushottam Mass.
Yes.
That is why he did not
Appear in any month.
Any month.
It was not in any month. It was Purushottam Mass, which is known as Adhik Mass.
Adhik Mass.
Yeah. Extra month.
13th.
13th month. Yeah. Every 3 years or 2.5 years it comes. So and then yesterday was Purnima Tithi, Vaishak Mass auspicious, and appearance of Radharaman, appearance there of Lord Buddha, appearance there of Madhavendra Puri, appearance there of Srivasacharya. So
And Buddha Purnima also.
Buddha Purnima, yes. Yeah. So Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee of the Lord, is actually Kalpa Vriksha tree in Braj, fulfilling all desires. So he came as the spring master of Mahaprabhu's spring master, and wonderful pastimes are there in regards to Madhavendra Puri. And then afterwards, so Chirchur Gopinath pastime is there, and Shakshi Gopal. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, so when he was visiting the different places, he was hearing also about all these pastimes of not only the Lord but his devotees. And he was relishing that. And he was hearing from Nityananda Prabhu about Shakshi Gopal, and then he was telling the devotees also later. And then he liberated also Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a Mayavadi first in the pastime of the Lord, but then he became a great Vaishnava. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he showed that he's not different than Radha Krishna specifically, but he also showed that he's not different from Ram. Sadhguru Jurup is there of Mahaprabhu. 6-armed form he showed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Jagannath Puri, near the Jagannath temple. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was staying there. And when he saw Mahaprabhu in 2 hands, so his golden complexion is there, beautiful form. He's a sannyasi with danda and kamandalu. In one hand the danda, and the other hand the water pot. And then he saw the 2 arms of Ramchandra Bhagavan with bow and arrow, and he saw 2 arms of Krishna holding what? The flute, yes. So then he became also a great devotee of Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he composed also beautiful prayers in regards to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Sikshata Vikatu Sapurana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dadi Kripambari Yastra Mahampapadye. Satik Shatra Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Lord Himself. And He has come to teach Vairagya, renunciation, becoming free from material attachments. Vidya, and He gave transcendental knowledge. Nija Bhakti Yoga, He gave devotional service, especially Braj Bhakti. And then also He composed a stotram around 18 verses in which there are 108 names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So His glorification. And then also this one, of course, he wanted to first instruct Mahaprabhu also, but then Mahaprabhu then delivered him, and then so he wanted to know about one specific verse of Vishnu Bhagavata known as Atmarama verse. Atmaramaschamanoya nigranti viyukkama kurmatya hataki maktivitam buto guru harihi. That even those who are Atmaram, and referring to himself, those who take pleasure in the self. So that is, the Supreme Lord is known as Atmaram, but also the devotees, or those who are engaged in spiritual pursuit. Even the Mayavadis, they take pleasure in the self. They know we are not this body. But if they have some impersonal conception, they have to, and they may still be attracted, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, it is mentioned also Shukadeva Goswami. The four Kumaras, they had some impersonal conception, but by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, then they also became devotees of the Lord. So then Mahaprabhu went to South India, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, so he told Mahaprabhu that when you go to South India, you should meet one great devotee there. His name is Rai Ramananda. So you meet him, and then you may discuss about Krishna. So a very wonderful discussion is there between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda. So anyone was here the last time I came? You were here? So I didn't speak about that yet, Rai Ramananda Samvad. Little bit I spoke. Little bit, not much, not completely.
At the end of,
not fully.
Not
So that we should discuss, that is very important discussion. And that is famous, even Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, he translated the whole Chaitanya Charitamrit and gave wonderful purports. But even before presenting Bhagavad Gita, he had explained about the Rai Ramananda Samvad and gave some explanation. And there's a small book, Rai Ramananda Samvad, which was actually published Prabhupada's time. So because it is very important instruction for the benefit of the devotees, it is there. So even in regards to Mahaprabhu on the way to South India, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining that I cannot mention all the places which Mahaprabhu visited and all the pastimes which happened there. But I'm just giving the most important ones which I have heard, which I can remember for the benefit of the devotees. So that is in in the Madhya Lila. So the 8th chapter is Rai Ramananda, the meeting between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda. So
I heard this lecture. It was very sweet.
you know the lecture of
this place, Gaur Krishna Maharaj.
Gaur Krishna Maharaj, yeah. Yes, so South India there's one place known as Vidyanagar, and there's also a river there, Godavari River, and some places are there, Rajmundri is there, and where nearby Ramananda Roy he was staying, and so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived there, so Rai Ramananda also came at that place, and then they met each other. So Rai Ramananda was actually the governor of that place in South India, in Orissa, and so as we know also the governor is coming, or the chief minister of one region of one Pradesh, then is always accompanied nowadays by police or the district magistrate. So many persons are there accompanying the important personality. So also in the case of Rai Ramananda, when he was there in Orissa, he was meeting Mahaprabhu. At that time there were the ministers, his ministers were there, some servants were there, brahmanas were there, who were usually there to give advice. Previously all the kings or the different leaders, they were taking advice from the brahmanas who were knowledgeable in the scriptures. And that is actually important point to understand, that especially if one is engaged in this world in dealing with ordinary people, then it is difficult to be always focused in remembrance of the Supreme Lord, and then it is difficult to take sometimes a proper decision. So therefore the kings or the leaders of society, they were taking advice from the brahmanas who were knowledgeable in the scriptures and who were engaged in spiritual activities. Then if they had to make some important decisions, they would take the help of the brahmanas. And therefore they always had at least one brahmana, a small king and a small brahmana, and one brahmana, but an important king in a bigger kingdom. So he used to have 3 or 5 or 7 or 9, uneven numbers, because then they had to discuss amongst themselves, and sometimes they had to then take a decision. So therefore they had uneven numbers, and everyone had to vote. So what to decide in a particular matter. But then Rai Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually met in a secluded place, and then they were discussing in regards to, of course, ultimately the absolute truth, in regards to devotional service. And so he was the governor, but he was from Kayastha family. Kayastha family, they may be according to different regions, they may be accepted sometimes even as belonging to the sugar community. But sometimes they are to be considered the mercantile community. Rai Ramananda, so he was from mercantile family, and he was very much respected, and he was knowledgeable in the scriptures. So it is not only by that, even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnamaya Shishtam Gunakama Vibhagashana. It is not only that by birth one will be accepted as as a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya Shudra, but by one's qualities, guna and karma, by one's activities. We can see even in Vrindavan, many times we have seen that even those who are, of course now there are not many who are pulling the rickshaw, but previously we had rickshaw, and then those pulling the rickshaws, they were from Bengal, and many of them were from Brahmana family. And even then they are saying, and showing the Brahman thread, I'm a Brahmana. And then I was telling them that, well, if you are pulling the rickshaw, what kind of Brahmana are you? The Brahman is supposed to worship the deities, the Brahman is supposed to study the scriptures, the Brahman is supposed to teach. So what kind of Brahmana are you? You're pulling the rickshaw. So like this, so according to one's qualities, according to one's activities, one may be accepted as a Brahmana, or one may be accepted as a Kshatriya or Vaishya. But generally, if one is born in a Brahmana family, there's a good chance that one can be engaged in Brahmanical activities, but not always, and not necessarily. And it is mentioned in the association of the exalted devotees, one can come to a higher position. And then specifically, if one becomes a Vaishnava, that is a supreme position. And a Vaishnava is to be accepted immediately as a Brahmana also. Although he may not have all the qualities of a Brahmana, but if he surrenders to Krishna, then his behavior, his character usually is exemplary also. And he may not be so knowledgeable, but if he has love for Krishna, then actually Krishna will give him knowledge. Therefore Mahaprabhu also said, Kippa Vippa Kivirnasi Shurakaina Ye Krishna Tattveta Sei Guru Hai. It does not matter if one is a Vipra, Brahmana, Nyasi, Sannyasi, or Shudra, but if one knows Krishna Tattva, if one has love for Krishna, if one is realized, if one realizes that I am not this body, I am but the spirit soul, if one is realizing one's relationship with Krishna, then is to be accepted as a Vaishnava. Then one is to be accepted as good as a Brahmana, and he may become a spirit master also. So Rai Ramananda, he was an exalted personality. So he was the governor, but more than that, he was a pure devotee of the Lord. And we know that ultimately in Krishna's pastime he is Vishaka Devi, a very dear friend of Srimati Radharani. But in the pastime, usually also, even the pure devotees, by Yoga Maya, by the internal potency, they are not immediately aware of their spiritual position also. But then, as they mature, then everything is revealed slowly but surely. So that is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the pure devotees. So the Supreme Lord is always conscious of his position, even when he's a small child, like Krishna. He's 1 year old, but he's knowing that he's the Supreme Lord and he can do uncommon activities, same with Mahaprabhu. But the pure devotees by Yoga Maya, they make not, when they're small children, so that they are not fully aware of their position, transcendental position. But as they grow up, then everything is again then manifest and revealed to them. So they met in secluded place, and then immediately, of course, a mutual attraction was there. And Mahaprabhu is the owner and Supreme Lord, so he knew that Rai Ramananda is actually Vishaka Devi in Krishna Lila. But he was not disclosing. He was also not disclosing that he is no different from Radha and Krishna. He was just posing himself as a sannyasi, and he was posing himself as a sannyasi who does not have so much knowledge, therefore he was inquiring. So he was just 26 years old at this time, as a sannyasi, but Rai Ramananda was a little older. and so he was mature in understanding. So, but here we can see Mahaprabhu, although the Supreme Lord and the sannyasi is a superior position than the grihasta or sannyasi is in the topmost position according to Varnashram, but still he remained always humble and respectful. So Mahaprabhu, Krishna, they were the most exalted, but at the same time the most humble. And Mahaprabhu was so humble. And also Krishna, he became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Or during the Rajasuya sacrifice of Yudhishthira Maharaj, he asked him, what seva can I do? And he was there. Yudhishthira Maharaj told him, you can welcome all the guests and see to their comforts. And he was doing it very humbly. So Advut Krishna, Advut Gauranga. So also at the beginning of each chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is always reciting one verse in glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At least, of course, in the Adi Leela, the first chapter of the book, then he is quoting many verses in glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then afterwards, in each chapter, so he is glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the beginning here of this chapter, the talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Ramananda. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is glorifying him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Gauranga. He is a reservoir of all conclusive knowledge in devotional service. He empowered Sri Ramananda Roy, who may be likened to a cloud of devotional service. This cloud was filled with all the conclusive purpose of devotional service and was empowered by the ocean to spread this water over the sea. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was the ocean of knowledge of pure devotional service. So the comparison here is very beautiful. That Mahaprabhu is just like the ocean, very deep. So it's like, for example, the cloud. It is mentioned that actually, so the sun is taking the water from the reservoirs of water, like the ocean or lake or river or pond, and then it is there, and then the formation is there, of course, by wonderful nature, the Lord's nature. In this world, that the clouds are formed, filled with water, and then it is raining, and then it is beneficial for the lakes or the ponds, when it is raining, and the rivers also. And in this way, one will benefit from the rainwater. Even in many places, there is harvesting of the rainwater, and then you can make electricity. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so when they met, they had some, just some little discussion. They were introducing themselves, and then so mutual attraction was there. But then it was already late in the evening, and then Mahaprabhu told that we will meet again tomorrow evening, and then we'll discuss more. And then I will have some questions with you, which I would like to ask you. So basically, it was explained to him that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he told me that I should meet you and I should inquire about his devotional practices. and Rai Ramananda. So he was very pleased, and he was very attracted to the beautiful sannyasi. So it is also mentioned that Rai Ramananda Roy was struck with wonder when he saw the beautiful form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And actually they were embracing each other, and then of course tears were coming from the eyes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu due to ecstasy, and also Ramananda Roy was overwhelmed with transcendental feelings of love. And when actually the Brahmanas, they saw Rai Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very much surprised that how come they are embracing each other, and how come they are crying while they are embracing each other. So the ordinary people, they cannot understand the transcendental loving sentiments of the Lord and his devotees. So only by good fortune one can understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can understand Krishna, one can understand the great devotees of the Lord. So therefore also the first day, they didn't want to spend too much time together, and they wanted to meet in a secluded place. So therefore after a little while, Mahaprabhu told that we will meet again tomorrow, but you come along, don't come with all your ministers and the brahmanas and servants. You come along and we meet in a secluded place. Then we can talk freely about devotional service. So Ramananda Roy, of course, he could understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an ordinary person. And so he was then explaining also to Mahaprabhu, I think you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan himself. And I'm just an ordinary person. And so then he is explaining that I feel very much blessed to be able to be here in your association. But then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, so he took the humble position and explaining to him that you please, I heard from Sarvo Bhattacharya that you are a very learned person and you know about devotional service. So I'm humbly requesting you that you may speak to me something about devotional service. And so he was requesting him again and again, will you please hear you speak something about Krishna, about devotional service. And then Rai Ramananda replied that my dear Lord, actually I've come here to correct me because I'm just an ordinary person, and by your mercy I may be able to say something. So he could also understand, and later on again and again he was explaining that actually I'm able to speak only by your mercy. So that is the humility of the devotee, natural humility. He's endeavoring to glorify Krishna, he's endeavoring to engage in devotional service, he's reading about Krishna, he's hearing about Krishna from other devotees. But then he's always feeling that actually it's the mercy of the Lord that I'm able to do something. It is the mercy of the Lord that I can say something about Krishna. And practically we can see that by the Lord's mercy we are able to do something. By the Lord's mercy we can do wonderful things. By the Lord's mercy we can glorify Krishna. And Krishna is revealing so many things within the heart to the sincere devotee. So the next day, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath, as a sannyasi, usually the sannyasis they take bath 3 times. Morning time, noon time and evening time. And then after the bath they will do the Sandhya Vandana. They will chant the Gayatri Mantra. So it is explained that, for example, the householders, so they don't have so much time, so therefore they may take bath in the morning after getting up, and then they may do some devotional activities, and then after during the day they may engage in their activities in this world according to their varna. And especially then those who are engaged in business or administrative work, they may not have the possibility to take bath 3 times. But then in the evening they may take bath again. And brahmacharis, they only have to take bath in the morning, usually, according to Shastra. Of course, if one has to go to the bathroom, and then exclamation, then he may take bath again. So first of all, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking that you please recite a shloka in regards to devotional service, how we should do sadhana. So in order to make advancement in spiritual life, we have to perform sadhana, follow some rules and regulations. And of course, usually the spiritual master, he will explain. Then Rai Ramananda is saying that Swadharma, we have to perform Swadharma, we have to follow Dharma according to Varna Ashram. And then also Vishnu Bhakti has to be there. Not only we follow Varna Ashram as a Grihastha, different occupation may be there, or a brahmachari is serving the spiritual master. So that has to be followed, but Krishna has to be in the center. Vishnu Bhakti has to be there. So he's explaining, but then actually it is mentioned also in the scriptures when we are speaking about devotional service, and then we have to quote from the scriptures also. That is known as authoritative, if we speak from the scriptures. So he is quoting from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the other literatures, and in regards to Varna Ashram, Varna Ashram Acharata Tumsena Punakuma Vishnu Raradyate Panta Nalyata Tosha Varna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashram. So Prabhupada, of course, most important is to chant the holy names, to hear about Krishna. And Prabhupada also explained about these points. But then also Prabhupada mentioned that we have to introduce Vana Ashram. That is important because not everyone can be fully engaged in spiritual activities immediately. So therefore they have to perform duties according to Vana Ashram. But Krishna has to be in the center and at least sometimes has to be devoted towards spiritual activities. So that is Vana Ashram. And that has to be followed. And then the Lord was saying, yes, that is fine, but that is external. Ubaya, again, cow. So then he was saying, yes, that is external, but then you say a little more. Because we understand we are not this body, we are spirit soul. So to act as a Brahmana or Kshatriya, that is fine, but we have to understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. And what is the activity for the soul? What is the constitutional position of the soul? Now we may be a Brahmana, or now we may be a householder, or we may be man or woman. But if you're not engaged in worshipping the Lord, then we will have to take birth again. And then we may be then in another position. A man attached to a woman, too much attached to a woman, he will become a woman. And if one is not properly engaged in Brahminical activities, although born in a Brahmana family, but then if he's engaged in business or so, then in the next lifetime he will most probably have the same occupation. So one may be elevated and then degraded, but one has to engage in devotional service and then one becomes elevated. And then Rai Ramananda is explaining Krishna Karmarpana, Sarva Sadyasar, that is the essence of the sadhana, is to offer whatever we are doing to Krishna. So we do our duty, but then we have to offer to Krishna the result of our activities. And Krishna has also explained in Bhagavad Gita, Karmani Avate, what is it? Karmani Avate, from the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You do your karma, but you give up the result to me. Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. And also in the 9th chapter, it is explained, and Ramananda is quoting the verse from the 9th chapter. Yad karoshi yadashnasi yadshosi tadasi yad tapasitsi kanteya tatkuru shamadarpanam. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, so he's quoting that verse, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer to give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform should be done as an offering unto me. So whatever we do should be offered to Krishna, as an offering to Krishna. So we eat, but first we have to offer to Krishna, and then we take Krishna Prasad. And then we do some austerity like Ekadashi Vrat. So when we do the austerity, we intend to increase our devotional service for Krishna's pleasure. We don't do austerity just to lose weight, like fasting on Ekadashi. Or we don't do so that others will recognize, I did Nirjala Ekadashi. No. We do for the pleasure of the Lord, for purification of our existence, so we become humble, tolerant. And so, for the pleasure of the Lord, everything is for the pleasure of the Lord. And then, Mahaprabhu is saying, Eobaya, Agekao. This is also external. Please say something more. Then, Rai Ramananda is saying, Swadharma Tyag, Sadhyasar. So Mahaprabhu is saying, please say more. And Rai Ramananda is saying that once you give up the occupational duties of an ashram and be surrendered to Krishna. And then he's quoting also from the Srimad Bhagavatam and again from the Bhagavad Gita. So, from the Bhagavatam that one should give up all activities of this world and completely surrender to Krishna by engaging in devotional service. That is a first-class man, and that is quoting from Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parijjhya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva bhavebhyo mokshayishamima suchaha. So, Sarva dharma parijjhya, give up all kind of dharma. So usually we say we have to follow dharma. So when Krishna is telling Arjuna, give up all kinds of dharma. So that refers to Varnashram dharma, to Naimitika dharma, to things of this world. So Varnashram, that is external, and then Naimitika dharma, that refers activities like, for example, the different samskars which are there, namkaran samskar for the child. This has to be done, but it is not most important. The most important is to engage in devotional service towards Krishna. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, give up all these external activities and surrender to me. And that is Nitya Dharma, Paradharma. Vastav dharma, real dharma is to do what Krishna wants, and to engage in the devotional service towards Krishna. That is real dharma. That is the constitutional position of the soul. Dharma, that is the nature, the constitutional activity of the soul. That is serving Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a book known as Jaiva Dharma. So there is nice explaining about different kinds of dharma, but most important is to serve Krishna. That is the actual dharma of the soul. The constitutional position is to serve Krishna. But still, Mahaprabhu is saying, and this is externally, please say something more. And then Rai Ramananda is saying that Jnana Mishra Bhakti, that is the essence. So we have to engage in devotional service, but we have to cultivate also spiritual knowledge. We have to learn how to serve Krishna. We have to learn about Krishna. And then he's also explaining again from Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmata Prasanatmana Shochati Nakamshati Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhattim Lavate Param. That so if one is on the spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuta, then one becomes satisfied and then joyful, and then one will not lament of anything of this world. So he will be equally disposed towards a living entity. Then one can engage in pure devotional service. So ultimately we have to engage in pure devotional service, as Rupa Goswami is also explaining. Anyavilashidushonyam jnana karmanavritam anukulina Krishna vishirinam bhakti uttamam. Uttam bhakti is to do what Krishna wants. It is for Krishna's satisfaction. And that should not be covered by Jnana, Karma, Mishra, Bhakti. So one should be free from that propensity to do some work for Krishna's pleasure, but then also enjoy. Or gaining knowledge also, but then not engaging fully in devotional service. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is saying, yeah, that is okay, that is external. So therefore you say more. So therefore he's saying that Jnana Shunya Bhakti is empirical knowledge, simply knowing something but not engaging in pure devotional service, that has to be given up. And still Mahaprabhu is saying, that is fine, please you say something more. And then Rayanananda is saying, Prema Bhakti Sarva Sadyam Sar. So we should engage in Prema Bhakti. not just bhakti, but with love and affection we should serve Krishna. So that means we have to come to this little platform and try to become free from the material modes of material nature, especially Rajagun and Tamagun. And then by performing pure devotional service, then Krishna is satisfied. So Mahaprabhu was becoming satisfied when he heard Prema Bhakti. And he was saying, fine. And then he was quoting verses also. And there is one famous verse which Prabhupada also mentioned, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yati Kutupi Labhyate Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Jannu Kuti Sukriti Na Labhyate. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. So from this line actually the word Krishna consciousness comes. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. So the consciousness should be absorbed in the mellows of Bhakti Ras towards Krishna. And so it is mentioned it cannot be had, it cannot be attained by performing pious activity for many lives. It can only be attained by paying one price. That is lolyam. Lolyam means intense greed. So somehow we should try to get the greed that somehow or the other, wherever, that how I can attain Krishna, how I can fully surrender to Krishna. So that lolyam, the greed has to be there. And actually that we can get when we're in the association of the devotees who are more advanced, who are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. They have this lolyam and this greed to satisfy Krishna constantly and to always be engaged in devotional activities. So again the Mahaprabhu is saying that is nice. So he was satisfied, but he's saying, please you take something more. And then Rai Ramananda is saying, Dasya Prem, Sarva Sadisa. The essence is to attain this position of spontaneous loving service in servitude. And like in Braj, the servants of Krishna there. Dasya Prem. So Dasya, Sakya. So the five mellows are there in Braj. But even in Vaikuntha, Dasya Bhav is there. We are the servants of Vishnu. And they have Prem. Prem Sambandh is there. And first of all, we have to understand, Jivan Supoya Krishna Nityadas, that we are the eternal servants of Krishna. That we have to know. And then we can engage in devotional service. And then we can advance more. So we follow also Navavida Bhakti, we hear and chant about Krishna, then we can remember Krishna. And then with that mood, Prabhupada has explained also that we should always serve in that mood of Dasya Bhav. I am the servant of Krishna. We do our devotional service in that mood. I am the servant of Krishna. We do for Krishna's pleasure. And then we can advance more and more. And then he's quoted some verses in this regard. From the Bhagavatam, a man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord. His lotus feet create the holy place of pilgrimage. So therefore, what remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? So if we understand our position as servant of Krishna, and especially by chanting the holy names, one can make a rapid advancement. And by constantly being engaged in devotional service, chanting the holy names, one becomes freed from material desires. And then one becomes pacified. What is the time?
It's 7:38.
7?
7:30.
Yeah, 7:38.
7:38.
Yeah, we can.
So we can, we can continue tomorrow. So very wonderful description, and then actually pointing at the essence of Mahaprabhu's instructions. Any question? Yes.
Only this verse which you just quoted, 8.70.
Yes.
It is mentioned pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be held even by pious activities in hundreds and thousands of lives.
Yes.
And in the pastimes of Dhruv Maharaj and we also hear that Krishna blessed him or Vishnu blessed him because pious karmas of Dhruv Maharaj fructified many past lives.
Yes.
How do we reconcile this? What is the role of pious activities in pure devotional service?
Yes. So pious activities, there may be, for example, of course, different kinds of pious activities are there, and some which have not so much to do with devotional service. Like, for example, you're feeding the poor, you're giving clothes to the poor people. That is pious activity. You're opening a hospital, and then people can get free treatment. That is pious activity. So by doing that, then you become actually purified in consciousness, and then you may be able to engage in devotional activities. So by being in the mode of goodness, actually, then you have the opportunity to engage in devotional activities. So that is pious activity. And devotional activity means Krishna is at the center. Pious activity, Krishna may not be in the center. So just distributing food, that is good activity. But if it is not prasadam, there is not much use of that also. It is not permanent for those who are getting the food. They're getting 1 day food or 2 days food, but then again they will be hungry and they're not making any spiritual advancement. So therefore pious activity, that is not sufficient. But we have to actually engage in devotional activities. So by doing pious activities, there's a chance that you may then more easily engage in devotional activities. That is also known as Agyata Sukriti then. If you have, let's say for example, you distribute some cloth, but if you give to, even you may not know, you give to some devotee, or you give to the Brijvasis, and then you're doing Agyata Sukriti. So that is actually, even without knowledge, you're doing actually not only pious activity, but that is Krishna, unmukh towards Krishna or Krishna's devotees, and then you may be able to engage in direct devotional service. So pious activity makes you eligible to then engage in devotional service. If one is in a mode of passion and ignorance, there's less chances that that person will engage in devotional service. Most likely not. But if one is in the mode of goodness, does pious activities, then he can appreciate the devotees, and then he may be engaged in devotional activities. So, and then when you engage in devotional service, then you become purified, and then the greed may come. So that you want to attain perfection, lolyam, siddhi lalasa. We have to be eager to become perfect. So if one is not so eager, then one is engaging in devotional service, then one cannot advance so much. So but in order to make rapid advancement, you have to have this greed, lolyam, to become perfect, to advance to the highest stage of pure devotional service. So pious activities, so that is required in the beginning, but then you have to engage in devotional service. And so the point is that it is not just by coming to devotional service and then doing a little devotional service that you become perfect. So, but it may take a few lifetimes also to become perfect and attain perfection. Even so, we can say that if you engage in devotional service, you may not immediately get the greed, lolya, that you may not immediately get. But by constantly engaging in devotional activities, and as explained, by being in the association of those who have greed, or those who have bhakti, or prema bhakti towards Krishna, and then there is intense greed there to satisfy Krishna. And so in their association they to become upon you also. So therefore it is recommended that we should associate with the devotees who are more advanced. And preferably the pure devotees, then prema bhakti yavat yavidya vinashayante. So prema is emanating from the pure devotees, and then that can come on us. And then we become purified in consciousness, and then our love towards Krishna will manifest also. But it takes time. So to become perfect. So Prabhupada is also explained. But we try our best to make as much advancement as possible in this lifetime. And if we have already performed devotional service in last life, so then maybe a chance that we can attain perfection in this life. So if one is advanced, of course one is always humble, but then the love will manifest, and there is a chance of becoming perfect. But if one has not performed devotional service in previous life, and it is the beginning, then one will have to do as much as possible, and then in the next lifetime one may become perfect. So it is an ongoing process, it will take some time. Yes? Yes?
There are I have two questions. One is that Prabhu, you mentioned that for a brahmachari, even a one-time bath is good enough, but for a sannyasi or a grasta, for sannyasi 3 times and for grasta 2 times.
Yes, that is mentioned.
Why brahmacharis are only given this? Why can't they take 3 baths, or why shouldn't they take?
Well, they may also take, but it is specifically mentioned that the sannyasi must. Of course, you have to say time, place, and circumstances.
Yeah.
Nowadays, also, if the sannyasi is, for example, preaching in somewhere in the city, may not have the possibility to take bath. But then during Chaturmas, usually they will stay in one place and then they were following this. So you have to see time, place, and circumstances. But general principle is that the sannyasi will take bath 3 times a day, if possible. And grihastas, so they cannot take 3 times, mostly because they are busy in their occupation. Unless they are brahmana and they are pujaris, then they will also take 3 baths, morning, noon, and evening. Similarly, brahmacharis, they are engaged in the service of the spirit master in the ashram, and usually they are very busy, then engaged in various services. And so, of course, if they can take bath 3 times, that is fine, but they don't necessarily have to. In the beginning, they may have a lot of seva to do always, so then and if they're always busy, so that is fine. But if you have to go to the bathroom for passing stool, then you have to take bath.
Understood.
Yeah.
So second question, Prabhu, is 2 days ago we celebrated Narsim Chaturdashi.
Yes.
And Lord Narasimha is also, as we so called in the normal world, the Dashavtaras, Lord Narasimha is also one of the avatars.
Yes.
But yesterday was appearance of Lord Buddha. And,
Yes.
but we don't celebrate Lord Buddha's appearance in such a way, the way we can celebrate it.
Yes.
Narsim Chaturdashi. How do we explain it to the outsiders who don't know the reality?
Yes. We see the unlimited incarnations of the Lord. Unlimited incarnations. And even it is explained about Buddha, Varaha, and so on. So, we have so many activities to perform, but specifically, we have to please our Ishtadev, Prananath, and that is Krishna, and that is Mahaprabhu. And so therefore, we cannot please everyone and serve everyone. And so therefore and then except Krishna or Mahaprabhu, then we may offer respect to the incarnations of the Lord, which are more prominent and which the acharyas have explained, we should try to observe. So specifically, Nrisingha Chaturdashi, that is to be observed by the acharyas, that is mentioned. And so Nrisinghadev is a special incarnation of the Lord who is destroying anarthas and who is protecting the devotees also. And in this material world, so many difficulties are there, so we need protection. And so many anarthas are there, so they have to be vanquished, they have to be nullified. So for that, Nrisinghadev is there, and so therefore we respect him also, we worship him, especially on this day. And Prabhu introduced that every day we chant this mantra for protection in the West, specifically. One time during Ratha Yatra, some people there were creating some disturbance. And they were almost attacking the devotees, and then Prabhupada told them to chant this mantra. And then he said, from now on every day you should chant. Because we need the protection of Nrisinghadev in the West especially. And also Buddhadev, for example, is an incarnation of the Lord, but he came for a specific purpose. That is because at his time people were killing animals in the name of performing sacrifice. Like it is mentioned in the Vedic literatures also, that you may do some sacrifice, like horse sacrifice, cow sacrifice, but that is usually not for the age of Kali. Because the qualified priests are not there, and the environment is not there to perform great sacrifices. There's not so much wealth there. But still it was continuing. Nowadays you go to Guwahati, there's a temple there. Kamakya Devi, still they do offerings there to Durga Devi. But so unnecessarily done for the satisfaction of the tongue. So in order to stop that, Buddhadev came and he was preaching non-violence. But then he was giving some impersonal concept of the absolute truth. So therefore we respect him, and we offer respect to him, and we also try to be non-violent, and that is definitely positive. But we're not fully embracing his philosophy, but we're embracing the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is to worship Krishna in the mood of devotees. So another important incarnation of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, is Ramchandra Bhagavan. So then we're also supposed to we're supposed to worship Ramchandra also, especially on his appearance day. And he's known as Maryada Purushottam. And he came to show how we should act in this world, especially as a dutiful king or householder. So he was following Maryada, following the rules and regulations of the scriptures, not transgressing them. And so the moral codes are there, how to behave in this world, and he was very exemplary in following that for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. So therefore we show respect to him also. So he's known as Purushottam also. Purushottam Ram, Purushottam Krishna, and Prem Purushottam Mahaprabhu. So we respect them. But others we may not have to worship very extensively. In the Nrisingha appearance day that we observe, and Ramchandra's appearance, that is for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that is to be followed. The Prabhupada is explained, but this is not the Prabhupada is explained, and even Sanatana Goswami and Hari Bhakti Vilasi is explained. So we follow our acharyas and what they have told. So we cannot worship everyone all the time, like Varahadev or others. We may show respect, and if we have some Varahagiti, Varahashila, we may do some worship, but not otherwise. But we show respect, we may speak about them, but we don't have to do elaborate puja for them. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
My question is that how knowing can be converted into realization?
How knowing can be converted into realization. Yes.
Like it is well known fact that Jiver Swarupa is Krishna Nitya.
Yes.
That how to realize
How
that
to
is-
realize. Yes. Yes. There's Jnana and there's Vijnana. Jnana means knowledge and Vijnana means realization. So, this is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chatushloki are there, 4 most important verses. And before that, Krishna is speaking to Brahma one verse. Jnanam param guriyam me yad vijnanam savaminam sarasyan tadangashta grihana kaditam maya. He's telling the Brahma, you accept what I'm telling you. And this knowledge, so, is very confidential. And included in that is the Vijnana. So when you know that I'm not this body, I'm spirit, soul, I'm Jiva, Soul, Krishna, I'm the servant of Krishna. So inside the knowledge, the realization is there, but how to realize that? So that is explaining to Brahma, so that is Sarasya Tadangascha. So that secret, that it is a kind of secret. But that you can realize by engaging in devotional service. So without engaging in devotional service, then you cannot realize. So I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. So you have to serve Krishna. And by serving Krishna, you can realize. So you get the knowledge, but then you have to engage in devotional service, and then you can get the realization. So that is a process. You hear, but then you have to apply in your life. So if you hear about Krishna, but then you have to serve Krishna, then you can realize Krishna. So here I'm spirit soul, and then by serving Krishna you can realize the spiritual nature. So that is a process. By engaging in devotional service you can get the realization. Without engaging in devotional service you cannot get realization. The many scholars even in the West, they have studied the Vedic literatures, even they have studied the Vaishnava literatures of Rupa Goswami, but because they are not engaged in devotional service, they do not have deep realization. Only knowledge, but that is not sufficient. You have to realize, and for this you have to engage in devotional service. And that you have to do constantly. By constantly engaging in devotional service, then you can have practical realization. You can have more and more realization. So that is the process, by engaging in devotional service. And most important form of devotional service is chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
That is the Yoga Dharma, and that is most important. Most realization you will get by chanting Hare Krishna. But even if you're serving, for example, the deities, or you're cooking for the deities, you may get some realization. But usually you have to chant also, because otherwise you will not get all the realization. So most important is chanting. And so, of course, in the beginning stage, you have to hear about Krishna, you have to serve Krishna, and then you can chant properly. If you are not serving Krishna, then even the chanting will be difficult. If you are not hearing about Krishna, the chanting will be difficult. So you have to hear about Krishna, you have to serve Krishna, and you have to chant all the names, and then you can get realizations. Okay? Anything else? And there is Mahaprasad for everyone. So we have some Mahaprasad from Rishika Chaturdasi here. Hey, some cake prasad.
Hare Krishna.
And then afterwards is prasad for everyone also.
Everyone, yeah.
What is there? What prasad?
Roti, chawal and
Roti,
sabji,
chawal and sabji and dal.
Yeah.
Rice, dal, sabji and chapati. Hare Krishna.
So, कुछ लोगों में बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि आज ही वृंदावन से आया, थोड़ा स्टार्ट करने में देरी हो गई, कल से सदस्य हो जाएगा। तो कुछ लोगों के बारे में थोड़ा सा बताना चाहता हूँ। सब लोग तो जानते ही हैं, लेकिन जो नए आए हैं, ये स्विट्जरलैंड के हैं, इनका सभी स्विट्जरलैंड का, लेकिन मन इनका पूरी तरह से भारतीय है। और 40 साल पहले वृंदावन में आए थे, और 40 साल से वृंदावन में इस्कॉन टेम्पल जो मुख्य टेम्पल है उसमें सेवा कर रहे हैं। अभी ये वहाँ पे मुख्य पुजारी हैं और इनके पास और करीब 40 पुजारी और भक्त रहते हैं जो कि मंदिर की सेवा करते हैं, क्योंकि सेवा चलती रहती है, 24 घंटे सेवा चलती है। उसके अलावा वहाँ पे भगवान का प्रसाद का भी ये देखते हैं और इनका आपने नॉलेज देख ही लिया होगा और भक्ति भी हम लोग इनकी क्लोजली देखते हैं, क्योंकि मुझे अवसर मिलता है कि मैं इनके साथ थोड़ा रहूं। तो मैं करीब 10-12 साल से मैं इनके साथ रहता हूं, तो मुझे रियलाइज होता है कि क्या क्या भक्ति का लेवल है और जो नॉलेज का लेवल है। थोड़ा सा एक्सीडेंट की प्रॉब्लम किसी किसी को होती है, तो लेकिन बहुत अच्छा इनका, जैसे इंग्लिश तो जानते ही हैं, स्विस जानते ही हैं और बांग्ला बहुत अच्छी जानते हैं, संस्कृत बहुत अच्छा जानते हैं और भी कई लैंग्वेज जानते हैं। तो मैं आप लोगों की तरफ से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ और आप लोगों से निवेदन करता हूँ मुकुंद प्रभु के हाथ से ये लीजिए प्रसाद और फिर भगवान का प्रसाद भी लेकर के जाइए। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण। मुकुंद प्रभु की
जय।